into the truth frequency.
Your protection from deception. This is Truth Frequency Radio.
Welcome to Spirit's Journey, coming to you live on Truth Frequency Radio and simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio. Your hosts are Patrick and Catherine Andrews.
Join us each week as we explore a wide range of metaphysical topics such as dreams, astrology, intuitive readings, and life purpose. You'll receive practical guidance so that you can live your most awesome life.
Learn more about what we do at intuitiveschool.com and connect with us on Facebook at Spirit's Journey Radio. Welcome to Spirit's Journey. We are coming to you live on Truth Frequency Radio and simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio. You can also find us on iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. We are here in the Heartland holding the energy for spiritual truth and awareness. I'm Patrick.
And I'm Catherine. Welcome, everyone. We have a very interesting guest today that we had the pleasure of meeting a couple months ago at a conference, and her name is Tiffany Cano. And I'm going to tell you a little about her because it's pretty impressive. She is the founder of Highly Perceptive People Academy, which has been she's been getting paid for healing since she was 8 years old. Many transformational workshop leaders, empaths, healers, and coaches hire her to help them see and heal their blind spots, be better at holding space and boundaries because most of them are overwhelmed, subconsciously guarded, take things personally, and contract when feeling fear and negativity. So she helps them be more aware and more clear and trust their intuition, to feel safe, to take confident and empowered action and hold your own sense of self. In essence, Tiffany gets you even more aligned and congruent so that you can be even better at receiving more money, love, and joy. Welcome, Tiffany.
Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Everything you do,
having me.
and everything you do sounds so amazing and great to me. So let's dig in with some questions. So I'm curious to know, how did you get started in healing?
Well, I just was born this way. Literally, when I was a toddler, I could see energy, I could feel energy, and I could put my hands on an owie and it would feel better. And I didn't necessarily know at that age what the heck I was doing, but that I could. And so I started studying with different healing masters and spiritual teachers and saints from around the globe as an early child, like teenager. And when I was 8, it was actually my dad, who's an entrepreneur. He's a horse trainer, and he was suggesting that I charge $1 for 10 minutes. He had no idea what I was doing, but I should start paying, having people pay me for it. And so that's how my entrepreneurial career began. And I just honed and refined my skills over the years, learning many, many modalities along the way. And I mostly just use my intuition. It's been a fun journey. I love what I do.
Well, I'm so impressed that your dad did that, because I know one of the challenges a lot of healers and empaths face is charging for their work. So since your dad encouraged you to charge for your services, that's probably a big hurdle that you didn't have to overcome because you were just used to, charging for your services.
Yes. And the funny thing is, he doesn't even remember ever telling me that. And the great thing about charging for services is that people tend to be more receptive. Every single time I've increased my rates, so, starting that young at $1 for 10 minutes, I'm now way above that for right now, like 30 plus years later. So, yes, every single time I've increased my rates, greater receptive people have come to me, and because the value's there, the results are there, a lot even buy another package because they want to keep going and have greater refinement in their life. So it's not always, I'm in such crisis, I need help and healing, but it's like, my life is going well, I want it to be even better.
So if we have some healers out there who are struggling with being able to charge for what they do so that they can do that full time as their career, do you have any advice for them?
Yes. Number one, owning your value. Owning your value. And that is a process, actually. For most people, they need to have healthy self-esteem, have the confidence that the skills that they're using, the gifts that they're giving to people, that there's a value to that and that they're worth being paid. And so a lot of times when I'm helping other people who are trying to get that value ingrained in them, it's doing deeper healing of core wounds. Core wounds like not feeling loved, not feeling seen, not feeling heard, not feeling understood, not feeling safe, or not feeling like they belong. And so as I go in and look deeper into their blind spots, into their inner child wounds, into their past, I can tune in and see one or more of these core wounds that are affecting their worthiness, that are affecting their ability to ask for money, to charge for their services. And it's not only that, but they're feeling safe enough to even put themselves out there and be willing to be seen and heard and understood.
And yeah,
so
and I know that's awesome, Tiffany. I think that'll help a lot of people. And I know for me, it's, well, if I don't charge what I'm worth, I'm not going to be able to do this full time and I won't be able to serve as many people. So that's what motivates me.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you feel the first time you started charging? Do you remember?
Well, I think when I was 8, I felt good. I was like a kid in the candy shop, like, wow, people pay me. And then as I started coming out as a teenager with the things that I'm seeing and starting talking about chakras and auras and angels, and people at that time, I mean, this was, probably in the 80s is when I started talking about what I was seeing and sensing and feeling and doing. And it wasn't popular. People were afraid of it. And so I would say it rocked my confidence a bit in my teens and in my 20s. And so I started doing it by donation. When my confidence was rocked, I did it by donation. And then as I rebuilt confidence in my early 20s, that's when I started charging again, like an actual price, not just by a donation. And so I think our self-esteem and our confidence plays such a huge part in that. Like if we don't have it in us, then it's really hard to feel confident to ask. And when we're out of alignment, out of congruent, people sense that and they won't resonate with us and be willing to pay, even if it's a small amount. So like being able to be totally in alignment is really important.
Yeah, I found that really interesting. It's so interesting as children we receive so easily, and then as we grow older and we think we're learning things about the world, sometimes we can form these misconceptions. And I think one of them in spiritual work is that we're supposed to do it for free, but then we realize that with the realities of having to pay bills to be able to live and get along, especially in this country, that we have to be able to earn a living. And if we want to do that full time to really do the most good, that means we have to reconcile somehow receiving money for that. So it was a little bit of a transition for me when I started going into metaphysics full time and teaching and doing healing work And yeah, it's a really interesting transition, but I know that it's one that a lot of people go through. But I think you can grow spiritually from that too. It's like my spiritual values and my ideas of spirituality matured as I went through that transition.
Yes, definitely. And I mean, for thousands of years prior, the healers and the shamans and the holy people, they didn't get paid for these healing services. They would get a chicken or some vegetables, right? It was usually done in trade. There was always some sort of a value given, but it wasn't necessarily money. And so to change that shift, that global consciousness and belief of being worthy to be paid money now versus being paid in chickens or fruit, like for the last 20 plus years, I've been doing work at the global consciousness level to shift to as much as possible the consciousness of humanity so that they will open up to want to pay, to value it for healers as a whole, not just me, because I found that it was such a big mass consciousness, negative and limiting belief that I wanted to do my part and try to help shift it.
So I'm curious to hear a little bit about what kinds of things you see clairvoyantly.
Sure. So I see a lot.
There's a lot going on out there to see, right?
Yes, there's literally like millions of radio stations and TV stations that I can tune in, and that can be quite overwhelming. And we'll talk about that possibly in a little bit later, how to help with the overwhelm of seeing everything and feeling everything. But I see auras, I see like a medical intuitive, I see angels and celestial beings, I see nature spirits, I see past lives, I see the energy and dynamic between two people. So every time someone comes to me for some type of relationship healing or conflict that they need resolved, I actually look between the two people and see what's happening. I can see the energy cords between them. So if someone's only connected at the sex chakra, then wow, it's probably just a physical relationship. But if there's also energy and cords between their heart, between their crown, then well, there's more loving and spiritual energies and connections between people. So I look at that. Every once in a while, I'll see glimpses of something from the future. I don't intend to do that because our destiny can change based on decisions that we make currently. We have like multiple options for the future. There are times when I know with certainty that this thing is going to happen. And then other times I'll get a percentage. Like, well, there's about a 60% probability that if this person continues on this track the way they are, this thing will happen, good or bad. Those are the kinds of things I see.
Yeah, because we also, when we do our readings, we tell people, we're not going to say in 6 months this is going to happen to you, because we, of course, believe in free will, and that, like you said, you could make a different decision tomorrow and change everything. So I guess when people get a reading, it's like, this is valid for the next minute. And if you change your thoughts, this whole reading is null and void. But so one of the things you do, Tiffany, that I find so interesting is you help people with their blind spots. And of course, it makes me think of that saying, you don't know what you don't know. So we all, I'm sure, have blind spots, many of them. So tell us about the work that you do with that.
Happily. So for every 100 to 200 conscious thoughts we have, there's 11 million subconscious thoughts. So that's why we might be thinking a positive thought or having an affirmation or a mantra, but if underneath the surface, in that subconscious level, in the blind spot zone, there's still wounds, traumas, false and negative and limiting beliefs that are still there, it will completely affect what's happening in our conscious reality. So I attune myself to what is happening for the whole person. I look and I get a sense of what their goals are personally, professionally, etc. And then I look and see what's in their blind spot, what's underneath the surface, what core wound isn't yet healed. Like someone says, I need more money. I'm like, okay, well, I can see here that you adopted a negative belief and negative imprint from your family about money, and here's the belief. Let's fix that. Or if someone is having, they want to attract the right person into their life romantically. And I'm like, okay, well, I see that you have a deep core wound about not feeling loved and not feeling safe with the opposite sex. We need to address that so that when you're sending out the beacon to the universe of, please connect me with the right, romantic partner, that you can actually do that.
That's great.
So
because
those are the kinds of things that I see. Mm-hmm.
And I so agree that if you don't work at that subconscious level, you're never going to get to the root of, what's blocking that person. So I really appreciate you doing that work.
Thank you.
Now, when you're talking about aligning the subconscious with the conscious, another way you could describe that is congruency. I know you talked about congruency before. Can you explain a little bit about why you feel it's so important to be congruent?
Yes. So we can be like 97% on board with a particular goal, project, aspiration, right? Something that we're trying to manifest personally or professionally. But if we're out of alignment, even that 1, 2, or 3%, even 1% will jack us up. And we may or may not be able to manifest what we want. Or if it does, it manifests later, like it takes more time to manifest. And it might manifest with part of what we want and part of what we really don't want. So it's really good to get clear within ourselves and congruent. And then that energy, that vibration, that vision and image will be the beacon. And I think even beyond congruency, when we can surrender and say, God, universe, use me, let your will be done through me, and you get congruent with the divine in that way, then things can manifest even better, easier, faster, and in ways that are far better than what we could have created and imagined ourselves.
Well, and I know that's a big thing that I hear a lot. I don't know if you do as well, as, people saying, oh, I want to manifest this or that, and it's not happening. And I think that's, one of the biggest issues that people are facing is, they've heard about visualization. They've heard they can have what they want, but they're not getting it. And, with what you said is true, even just that 1% that's off, it can block you from having it. That's a huge thing that people need to be aware of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree completely. I was actually just writing about this recently, and part of my background's in physics. And in physics, when you have waves that align with each other, it amplifies them. But when they get out of sync, it creates dissonance. And so just like in music, when somebody's out of tune, it creates this weird sound and dissonance. You can kind of tell, even if you don't know anything about music, you know something is off. But when you get a group of musicians together and everybody is in tune, all those waves are lining up and it amplifies, and the harmony and everything just comes together. And I think our minds work a lot the same way, like you were talking about, describing it as congruency. But yeah, that's something I think people don't look at is even being off that little bit can make a big difference in your manifestation. And people are constantly scratching their heads going, hey, where's my stuff? What's going on? This doesn't look like what I ordered.
Yeah. It was that 1% that was off. And even empaths can be off, So I wanted to ask you, do you help empaths, and how?
Yes. I have been empathic, sensitive, and intuitive since I was a tiny tot. And I found it to be at that, like child and even into my early 20s, somewhat of a blessing and a curse. Like, I could feel everything. That meant I could feel everything. Right? So that's what I mean by it's a gift, and it was also challenging at first, right? Until I started to learn how to be better at holding space and boundaries. And so how I work with empaths is, number one, getting them to see that this is actually a gift, because I do think it is. When I didn't have the tools to know that it could be as good as it is, then that's when I had that, I'm not sure if I like it. Like I have this thing. I kind of assumed everybody else had this thing, but I'm finding that they don't. And so for empaths, we can feel something about somebody, feel what they're thinking, their mood, even sometimes pick up on their thought forms. And they don't even have to be in the room with us. They can be on the other side of the globe, and we can get a sense about our friends and our loved ones, like, oh, something's wrong with them. We can get a sense of a room. Like maybe you're in a great mood, and then you walked into a crowded room with stress and negativity, and all of a sudden your energy level just went, and now you're full of stress and anxiety or sadness or whatever is in the space, right? And so when you don't know that there's another option, and when you don't even know that it's not your emotions, your energies to begin with, then that's when it can feel like a burden and feel difficult and challenging and a mixed bag. But once you have the realization, like, oh, this isn't even mine. It's not my sadness. I was actually happy 2 minutes ago. Wait a second, this isn't mine. Let me give this back. Like, I don't need this. Let me get this out of my space, right? Or let me use love to transmute it, and then work from that belief, plus being able to teach people how to hold space and boundaries and the different types of spaces that they have. Is that something that you guys would want to know about?
Definitely.
Certainly.
Okay. So when I'm teaching Highly Perceptive People Workshop, I talk about the different kinds of spaces that we have. We have a spiritual space. This is a space that we need for being able to meditate, receive intuition, clairvoyance, divine guidance, be in that knowingness of things that we've never even learned, but we know it. That's also called claircognizance. And when we don't have a big enough spiritual space, it can have us not be able to hear or listen or tune into these spiritual energies, frequencies, and messages. And then on the flip side, if we have such an open, big spiritual space, it can be overwhelming because downloads can happen. I sometimes get downloads that feel like Niagara Falls is coming through me.
I've been there.
Or this is what used to happen to me in like teens and 20s. I get woken up in the middle of the night with a message about somebody or my client the next day. And so I had to start asking, hey, God, spirits, great ones, can you please give me the message when my body's awake and when I can write it down or I'm in session with that person, and let me sleep throughout the night so I can serve you best during my waking hours? And if you want me to do healing on them while the body sleeps, then I'm a yes for that. And please let me sleep while that's happening. Let my soul do the work. Right? And so that's how I adjusted things at the spiritual space level. Now, there's also
Tiffany,
mental...
Tiffany, looks like we're coming up on our break, so we just need to pause here for just a moment.
Sure.
And so we're going to be going into a short break. So during the break, you can go to Spirits Journey on TFRlive.com, and please sign up to support the station. TFR is a listener-supported station, just like PBS, and so 50% of your proceeds also help Spirits Journey continue on with this programming. And so this is Truth Frequency Radio. You're listening to Spirits Journey. We are also being simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio. So we will see you on the other side.
You are now tuned into the Truth Frequency.
Your protection from deception. TFR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
We are back from the break. You are listening to Spirit's Journey with Patrick and Catherine Andrews, coming to you live on Truth Frequency Radio, being simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio. And we are going to be trying to take some callers this period. So if you want to call in the United States, you can call in at 213-233-3998. In the UK, you can use 44-203-393-2871. And if I went by a little too fast for that, you can go to the TFRlive.com front page, and they've got the call-in numbers for you there.
Great. So before we went on break, we were talking with Tiffany about the importance of healthy space and boundaries, which is a huge issue for a lot of people, especially those involved in the healing field. So, Tiffany, you described kind of how we can create that spiritual space. What else can you share about space and boundaries that can help people?
Happy to share more. So in addition to spiritual space, we also have a mental space, emotional space, physical space, money space, life space, relationship spaces. And so we can have space for each one of these things and be able to hold boundaries with them. So let me describe briefly a little bit more about a few of these, because I think it's important for people to start getting a feel for what this is. So for mental space, this is the kind of space that we need to think, to write, to be creative. And we know that we've collapsed our mental space when there's a feeling of overwhelm, when there's that neon sign of, or this voice in your mind that's like, I can't handle another thing. Don't give me one more thing on my to-do list, right? And so that's a real big signal that you've collapsed your mental space, and that if you allow for a recovery of that and greater boundaries, you'll be able to think again. You'll be able to create and be in the flow, to write that email, to finish that novel that you're, drafting up, or just get inspiration about a project that you're working on. Then for emotional space, this is the kind of space that we need when we are being with emotions, our own emotions or other people's emotions. And you know that you've collapsed your space when you just can't process or be with yours or somebody else's emotions. And I find that when the emotional space in particular is collapsed, it makes it to where everything feels like it's in your face. Like triggers are left and right and center. And everything just feels like it's more activated, more agitated, more magnified in some way. And so when you allow yourself to heal and recover your emotional space and have emotional boundaries, then you don't take things as personally. You can be with your emotions and your friends' emotions. You can have a boundary and not take it on or sponge it up, especially for empaths, sensitives, intuitives. Like, not being able to sponge up other people's negative emotions is a really, really big challenge. And so maybe after I explain the spaces, if time allows and you'd want me to go there, we could do a group demo or exercise that could help everyone to tap into their space and recover and start having better boundaries as well. So let me get through a couple more quickly because they're important. A physical space. This one is the space that we need for our physical presence, our physical form. And you know that you've collapsed your physical space if you're walking down a crowded sidewalk and people are bumping into you. Someone who holds a really good physical space, they could be walking down a crowded sidewalk and the sea parts for them. There's just this like presence about them physically that people grant space for them because they have owned their physical space.
I'm going to remember that next time I go to Disneyland, Tiffany.
Well, if you go to Disneyland, call me because I'm 5-10 minutes away from there, but I haven't gone in years.
Oh, fabulous.
So, yeah. Okay. And then financial, your money space. This one came to me in one of those Niagara Fall downloads. Okay. So as an entrepreneur, money can go up and down. It's not like a day job where you get a consistent paycheck. And so I was like, God, why is it that it seems like I'm working the same amount of hours, yet some months my income's bigger and sometimes it's lower? And so I had this info of, well, increase your money space and heal whatever leaks and holes and cracks are in there. I was like, oh, okay. And so anytime I am aware that the flow is a little less, I do a check-in on my money space, right? And see, are you clean? Are you healthy? Are you strong? Are you big enough? Like, what do I need to do here? And so those are some of the spaces. And then there's a life space that encapsulates all of them. If we don't have a big enough life space, then it's hard to fit in working and going to the gym and having a social life and spending time with family and friends and loved ones. Like, if you don't have a big enough life space, then it's hard to put in everything that you value, want to prioritize, and feel is important in your life. And so when we can work on our spaces in a way that has them be clean, big, healthy, strong, it gives us the greatest access to our sense of self and our ability to be of service to others.
Now, can we go back for just a moment to the money space? I know this is a
Sure.
common question
It's
we
a
get.
hot topic, I know.
Yeah, very hot topic. We get that question all the time. So can you give us a short description? You talk about going in to check on your space. Can you describe for everybody, how would you actually go in to check on your space to see how it's doing, and how might you make some changes if you feel like you need to?
Okay, so let's do it as if we're feeling it. Okay, I believe that everybody has the ability to feel. Let's use our hands as a way to scan and feel our energy. Okay, so let's first activate your hand chakras. So push on the centers of your palms with the intention of activating your chakras within your hands. Push on your fingertips. So if you're driving, please pull over.
I was going to say, quick disclaimer, if you are operating heavy machinery, please be safe.
Yeah, for this part, just pull over for like 5 minutes, okay? No operating farm equipment or heavy machinery if you're driving. Okay, activating your palm chakras, getting them nice and big and strong. Now, roll your wrists, so you're doing like wrist twirls. And then change directions, do it in the other direction. We want to get your hand chakras big and activated so it'll be easier to feel here in just a minute. Okay? And now clench your fists and open. Clench, open, clench, open, clench, open, clench, open. Do that a few more times. Okay? Now put your hands about maybe 1.5 feet apart. Relax your shoulders, relax your arms. Breathe into the space, being aware of the space in between your palms. So allowing for about 1.5 feet, and just breathe, relax. Let the energy build in between your hands. And now slowly move your hands in and out. Just slowly. Some people may notice a change in energy, a change in temperature, magnetic pull, or like taffy or rubber bands between their hands. These are all pretty common sensations of being able to feel. Okay. Now we're going to take this sensitivity in our hands and we're going to apply it to scanning our space. So we all have a space bubble around us. Some are bigger than others. And I want you to form the intention that you are feeling your space bubble. So put your hands out in front of you. See if you notice a space bubble. Your space. Have you even granted yourself one? And feel out to the sides of you. Is there space on the side of you? And how about on the top part of you and the lower part of you? Is it even? You're checking for size and quality. So this is just to give you a sense of where you're at right here in this moment. Okay? Now, you can drop your hands and relax. Now, I'm going to invocatively pray and help you do like a super insta cleanse of your space and help it to like pop out, expand, and be bigger and brighter. Okay? So just allow for that for a second. And form the intention. I'm allowing my space to be cleansed, healed, become bigger and brighter. Allowing for even healthier, stronger, clearer boundaries. I'm allowing all of my spaces, including my money space, my money ka-ching space, to be healthier, bigger, brighter, with clear, healthy, strong, firm, appropriate boundaries. Thank you, God, for the healing and the help and the blessing.
All right, that was awesome.
That was beautiful, Tiffany. So I feel like I'm getting into the magic zone space right now. So let me ask you a question. Imagine you've got...
Wait, before you shift, feel your space again. Get the before and after before you get into the mental space with questions so that everyone can feel that. Like, is it bigger? Is it cleaner? You intuitively, like through claircognizance and clairsentience, you felt it and you knew it. But some people need to scan it again and validate it. Notice how it's further away. The quality is better. Overall, brighter, shinier. Validate it for yourself. Okay, now ask away. I'm all ears.
So, yeah, that was amazing. I definitely felt a shift in mine. That was very awesome. So thank you, Tiffany. So getting into this magic zone, which metaphysics is really all about, practical tools. If you had a magic wand and you could wave it, what would you wish for?
Wow. That everyone be, feel, and experience love, divine love, unconditional love in the deepest way possible. I think if everyone was living from love, there would be peace on earth.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Now, one thing I wanted to be sure that we have a chance to talk about, and we are very excited to be part of this, but you are currently working on a big fundraiser for Marianne Williamson. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. So Marianne is running for U.S. president. She's been a long-time transformational workshop leader for 35 plus years and one of the pioneers, out there helping this industry that I'm in, and I believe you both are in as well. And when she announced that she was running for president, something shifted in me. The part of me, I used to be completely anti-political. And then when I saw that she was running, this lightning bolt came through me and woke me up in a way that said, you cannot be complacent and numbed out to politics anymore. It's time to bring love and light and healing into politics and support Marianne. And so then I had a download to create this online summit as a fundraiser for her. It's called Waging Peace, Love and Truth. So everybody can go to www.wagingpeaceloveandtruth.com. You can sign up for free. And if you're a U.S. citizen, would you please be so kind as to make a minimum donation of $2, because she needs several, like another 30 to 35,000 unique donations immediately in order to be eligible for the debates in June. So I'm trying to help her, and by getting as many other transformational workshop leaders, healers, coaches, speakers to contribute and be great speakers. We have some of the most incredible speakers in this. DC Cordova, I just interviewed her yesterday. She was from Money and You. The amount of prosperity angels that she has around her is profound. She meets with the world leaders and changes education, all from these principles from Money and You and Buckminster Fuller. It's so incredible. And so there's people that have their own niches. Some are in the money zone, some to help other entrepreneurs, some that work with mindset, and some that are geared more towards health. And so it's such an incredible group of people, and both of you were so kind as to be interviewed on it. So I'm really excited that you are participating as well. I loved what you had to say, and then we'll get that out to people and help spread the word.
And I think it is a huge shift in the world that somebody who's so metaphysically based, whose, studies include Course in Miracles and so forth, is running for office. I think it will definitely bring spirituality into awareness, and hopefully people like us who have been on the fringe, right? The oddballs will be becoming more mainstream as we see that there really is a spiritual answer to every problem out there, and that most of the politicians look for physical answers as opposed to looking at the spiritual. So if anything, she's bringing that awareness into the public eye, which I think is great. And I also think it brings up for a lot of people that, a lot of us aren't really living up to our fullest potential because we haven't tapped into that spiritual realm. So why do you think today, when we have access to so much information, everything we want in the United States is at our fingertips, why do you think so many people are not living their fullest potential?
I think it goes back to those core wounds. They're not feeling safe enough, loved enough, heard, understood, or like they belong. And so they're not putting themselves out there and vibrating and being congruent in a way that would have them living a life of their full potential. I know even for me, who started with this healing journey and as a profession, and I've done it for decades now, I've grown over time. The wounds from this life and others have been healed over time. And so it can be an evolution where the amount of fulfillment that I am willing to let myself have grows, the more inner work I do. And so if we could love on one another in a way that would facilitate such profound healing, I think everybody could live from their potential.
So love is the answer again.
Love.
Yeah, I agree. One thing I've learned over time is that, sometimes we say love, but it isn't always easy. I mean, there are challenges. People cut you off in traffic. People are not always kind. So it is this process of bringing your attention back to those loving thoughts over and over again. And part of love is forgiveness too. And forgiveness is not even so much for the other person as much as for us. So we can just let go of it and get back to that place of peace and love. And so if we realize it, everything is dynamic. Our energy is dynamic, like we were talking about before when we were talking about holding our spaces and checking on our different spaces to see how they're doing. Everything's dynamic. So, when we get off track, it doesn't mean that we have to just stay there, but we have a choice every moment. Where do we want to direct our mind? And so when we bring it back to love, when we bring it back to forgiveness, I think that really helps us stay on track with that.
And also,
Yeah.
I think what you said, Tiffany, and you said you're able to see angels and so forth. And I think we all have spirit guides and angels supporting us. And I also feel, at least in my own life, when I've just had one person who believed in my idea, that was enough to help me fulfill my potential with that project or whatever it was. So, we have angels on the other side, but I think we also have a lot of angels right here that if they knew what we were doing, and you tell people, you'll find somebody that's going to think you have a really cool idea and want to support you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can you repeat for us one more time where they can go for that fundraiser? Because I know when people are listening, sometimes you can't always get it the first time because you don't have something to write it down. Can you repeat that one more time for us?
Waging Peace, Love, and Truth.com.
Awesome. And we're also going to be putting that on our Facebook page at Spirits Journey Radio. So you can go to the page and we'll have more details about everything that Tiffany is up to. And do you have any other events or projects that you want to mention before we wrap up the show here today?
I do. I have a 3-day live workshop called Highly Perceptive People, May 3rd through 5th in Orange County. It's actually the last one that I'm doing live. I have it as an online program. And the cool thing about being live and in person is every single time I teach it to the group that is there in front of me. So it's different, 25 to 40% different every single time. And so I'm going to teach you about holding space and boundaries. I'm going to help you tap into even greater intuition, heal those deep core wounds, stand in your power, and feel safe within yourself and putting yourself out there. And it's one of my favorite things to do, to be able to help people put all these pieces together so that they can live their life to the fullest potential.
Awesome. Well, Tiffany, we have about 45 seconds left, and you mentioned something about that you had a free gift. Did you want to mention that too?
Yes. If you go to highlyperceptivepeople.academy.com, highlyperceptivepeopleacademy.com, right there on the homepage, you can download my Money Magnet Intensive course. It's 20-minute prosperity healings for the next 20 days.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Tiffany.
You're welcome.
We want to thank you for coming on our show today and sharing all of this with us. And we look forward to continuing to work with you on that fundraiser and being a part of that. So very exciting things coming up. All right. Well, we love having all of you with us. So please connect with us on Facebook at Spirits Journey Radio. And as I mentioned, we are going to be putting all of these links and things up there so you can go and find them. And while you're there, please like our page so that we can be a part of your life and you can be part of ours. You can also study with us or get a reading from us at intuitiveschool.com. So this is coming up on the end of our show. So we will be back next week, though. This has been Spirit's Journey live on Truth Frequency Radio, being simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio. I'm Patrick Andrews.
And I'm Catherine, and we look forward to seeing you next week. We're going to be kicking off a series of new presenters for a Reignite Your Life event.
Yep, very exciting things coming up. So don't miss a single episode. But if you do, catch us on the replays on our YouTube channel of Spirits Journey Radio. Bye for now.
Have an awesome week.